Hi, everybody. Welcome to our straight and simple Gemara Shir. We are going to have so much fun today with another Gemara Shir. We're going to talk today. The major part of Shir today will be about Bishul and Shabbos. Yeah, we all think we know about Bishul and Shabbos, but there's always details that we have to know better. Even if you're not the one who cooks at home, there's so much you have to know. Even if you're not Baal HaSabais. And this year's Le'ilu Nishmas, my beloved father, Menachem ben Akiva, and for the quick release of all the hostages, Be'ezus Hashem, they should come back home. The soldiers will come back home, all not having to fight the war, B'chlal, Be'ezus Hashem. Now we know we can only trust Hashem. That's very good. Now we are in Masechet Shabbos, Kuf Mem Hey, in the very, very bottom of the page. V'chen Tani Devei Menashe. Although I promised to talk about Bishul, but the very, very, very last line of Kuf Mem Hey Omad Aleph. Are you? Yeah, we're all on the same page. And we're still talking a little bit about schita, squeezing on Shabbos. They learned in the yeshiva of Bey Menashe, in the yeshiva of a Tana called Menashe, Dvar Toiro, Enochayv El Adrisas Zeisim Vanovim Bilvad. That kind of summarizes halacha of what? Schita, disha, schita, mefarek on Shabbos. The only thing you're not allowed to be to squeeze mideoraisa dvar toiro are zeisim vanovim, olives and grapes. They are the ones which are primarily used for their juices, for the oil or wine, and they are the only midoraisa. It is debatable, though, amongst poskim today, if other things may also be doraisa, because they're very, very common, like oranges. I'm not going there. Zeisim vanovim are clearly doraisa. It's always more severe. That's why even that kula, remember the kula of squeezing straight from the fruit into another solid food. Yeah, let's say from the grape juice into the fruit salad. It is allowed, but it's debatable. I'm not even sure it's allowed. It's a question. In other words, if things that are not zeisivanovim, like lemon, you want to squeeze your lemon straight into your salad, into your lettuce salad, that's fine. Even that, but zeisivanovim are worse. Yeah, I'm saying ask your rabbi what to do. But zeisivanovim, you always have to be more aware, more on top of the game.
Who holds you can?
I don't remember who says what, and I always refrain from saying your opinion. It's not halacha shir, but I'm saying if you want to squeeze grapes into something solid, let's say you want to scrape some grapes into your challah, making the challah sweet, consult with a professional before you do that. Now, another statement which has nothing to do with us, with our sugya, but there is another statement that was taught by the yeshiva of Menashe. The aim ed mipi kosher elaledus isha bilvad. Yeah. In other words, normally, when the Torah requires edim to give their testimony, many people don't understand that edim witnesses. We learn a lot about witnesses in Noshim Nizikin. Witnesses are not just a way for Beis Din to know what actually happened. They're not the equivalent of a CCTV camera. But Eidim is exersa kosov. When you have two Eidim, you have to believe them. And there are many, many details about Eidim that may not be understood by people. One of those specific, interesting halachos for Eidim is Ein Ed Mipi Eid. Yeah, it says Mipi HaEidim. You always have to listen to the Eidus straight from the Eidim, which means the only people that can testify about anything are the people who actually saw the event happening. In other words, if the biggest tzaddikim in the world, I don't know, Rav Moshe Lul Hirsch and Rav Landau, they saw something happening, right? They're very reliable. And they said to other big tzaddikim, I don't know, Reuven and Shimon, that so-and-so happened. Reuven and Shimon cannot testify on behalf of people who saw it. The same person has to be the one who saw it in his own eyes, and he is testifying, he is verbalizing it to Beis Din, right? So now, however, there's an exception. Edus isha bilvad. What is edus isha bilvad? At this point, the Gemara understands edus isha bilvad means I'm reading Rashi inside. This Rashi has a lot of achronim talk about it. Just read the first Rashi. Loimer isha met baalech. Let's say there is a woman whose husband went to war. Unfortunately, I wish that was science fiction, but it's not. And they tell the woman your husband died, right? But it's aid mipi aid. In other words, yeah, Reuben and Shimon were soldiers in the war, and they saw that their husband is dead in Gaza. They're not sure what's happening with him, chas v'shalom. And Reuben and Shimon are saying this to Yehuda and Binyamin. So that does work. Funnily enough, Eshes Ish, the most severe of error in the world, and yet, when it comes to Eshes Ish, funnily enough, there's a whole parak in Yevomis about it, towards the end of Yevomis. Chazal were makel in Eshes Ish, whose husband may or may not have died, that the testimony about his death, there are all kinds of kulas over there. It's a very, very big issue. Here Rashi is giving us a glimpse to the issue. Why is that? Why are Chazal being more makal to allow even that indirect edus to work in such a severe thing of Eshes Ish? She can basically go, because Bezdin heard that Yehuda and Shimon heard from the soldiers, Naphtali and Aaron, that the husband died, and we rely on that. Why? We don't leave women agunos. Yeah, a woman should not be an aguna. Also, we rely on the fact that a woman would not marry too quickly another man, because if her husband does come back, oops, and she's already married to the second guy, then all her kids are mamzerim on all sides, and she's usher for both husbands. It's a real mess. Yeah. So if the husband is yes alive, she's taking a big risk herself. Yeah. If she's marrying too quickly to the other guy, to her new husband. Yeah. If the old husband is really yes alive and he'll come back, sounds like a scene from a movie. The husband comes back through the door, Baharuk Beraglov. So then she'll miss and mess up on both sides. And that's one reason why Chazal were making. First of all, they want Bnei Yisrael not to be a guna. A guna is a terrible situation, and also we have that safety mechanism. But still, at the end of the day, how can Chazal break a daraisa? What do you mean Chazal are being meko? Kiddushin a daraisa, ki kachish a daraisa. And says Rashi has a hidden question over here. And says Rashi, no, Chazal have the right to change a doraisa when it comes to marriage. Look inside. Oh, look. Rashi says, "V'chola mikadesh adata d'Rabbanon mikadesh." Oh, v'afkui Rabbanon kiddushin minei. In other words, traditionally, at an Orthodox wedding, have you ever attended an Orthodox wedding? So, so at a proper wedding, what does the chassan tell the kala? Haret mukudeshes li. That's a nice way to say mukudeshes li. What does he have to say? Kedas Moshe Yisrael. Oh, that the kiddushin are kind of conditioned to only work according to the way Rabbanon wanted. Kedas Moshe Yisrael. Yeah. In other words, whoever is mekadesh applies the kiddushin according to conditions that Chazal apply. Oh, afkui Rabbanon kiddushin minei. Since the entire kiddushin are what those kiddushin are really. The concepts is the Raisa. The Kiddushin of that couple, of any couple of Aaron and Leah, these Kiddushim are within the Rabbanon conditions. So Rabbanon can say, now the Kiddushin of the first husband, yeah, even if he's alive, are Nifka, are not there anymore. Yeah? Now, however, if he is still alive, yeah, then she can't stay with this guy and she can't go back to the other one. Yeah, in order to make sure that she's not acting too hastily. But here Rashi says something very interesting. Whoever's Mekadosh does it according to Rabbanon, and therefore Rabbanon have the right to say, listen, for us, an aid, mipi aid, is good enough. We are the one who run the show regarding how Kiddushin work and how the opposite of Kiddushin works. So that's nothing to do with our sugi of Schita or Shabbos, but it happens to be another statement that was said in the yeshiva of Menashe, Bei Menashe. Ibailu, here we come with another very interesting, fascinating issue, not so often, not very well known to people, myself included. Ibailu, they had a question. Eid mipi eid, le'edus bechor mahu. Now the question rises, what's the halacha eid mipi eid regarding edus of bechor? Don't, nothing to do with the bechor of human beings. This has to do with the korban bechor. What happens when a person has a bechor, a firstborn animal from his cow or his sheep or whichever kosher animal? So that bechor, and let's talk now in the times of Beis Hamikdash. If the bechor is healthy and has no mum, doesn't have any blemish, last week's parsha, blemishes. So if there are no blemishes in the behema, it becomes a korban. And what happens to the korban? The imurim go up to Hashem. That's in nice English, it's called the kishkes, yeah, the innards the innards, the digestive system, all the nice fat, the kishka, the v'chule, the liver, it goes to Hashem, and the kohen eats the kohanim eat the flesh, the rest of the flesh, like most other kochim, whatever. Of course, actually kochim kalim, but the kohanim eat it. Now, wait a second. What happens if the animal is balas mum? If the animal has a mum blemish, then that's a very, very nice gain for a kohen. Then you give it to a kohen, and the kohen eats the whole thing. It's mum. Mum is not supposed to be brought to the mizbech, right? You don't bring an animal with blemishes on the mizbech. So who gets the trophy? Who gets the prize? The kohen. So as much as kohanim were normally very nice, moral, tzaddikim people, we always suspect the kohanim to try and make a blemish, even indirectly. The Gemara gives all kinds of creative tricks there. A kohen has a self-interest, yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Has his own self-interest to make sure that the animal has mum, and then he gets to eat the entire bchor outside Beis Hamikdash, just to eat the whole thing. Now, what's the edus? The edus is as follows: if the mum was created by itself, the animal, I don't know, the animal is walking down the field, and something happened. It scratched, whatever, it scratched something in the eye, something in the ear, in the nose. Anything, there are many, many, many mumim, some kind of mum happened to the animal. If it happened by itself, the kohen gets to eat it. If the kohen himself did it, if it's man-made mum, man-made mum, if it was made by the kohen or any other person, then the Rabbanon made a gzeira, the kohen doesn't get to eat it. The kohen doesn't get to eat it because it's a knas. You misbehaved, you tricked the system, and anyways, you're not allowed to create mum in kochim. It's tamani d'oraisa. So now, what's the edus? Now, let's say there is a kohen in the vicinity of the animal. I meant to say the other way, but yeah. And we suspect that mum actually happened through a kohen. Or maybe he sent someone. So for that, you need an edus. Yeah? You need someone to testify and tell you that really this mum actually did not happen through a human being on purpose. It's not a purposeful, it's not a sabotaging act, but rather it happened by itself. You need a person to, I would say, maybe you need two Eidim. Let's leave it alone, but that's what we think right now. You need Eidim, and all of a sudden we're asking a question. For that Eid of a B'chor to testify that the Yisrael gave the coin the B'chor, and all of a sudden there's a mum, that's funny. I need to get an aid, yeah, to tell me that the coin is not the one who did it, and he's always suspected. For that, it's enough to have aid mipi aid, right? By the way, when I spoke about the woman, it's not even that she needs two aidim. It's enough to have one aid, as far as I remember. Aid mipi aid could be even one. I gave an example before of two soldiers and two things. Yeah, I think even if it's one person, it's enough. I'm pretty sure by the aguna. So now, what about one aid from the mouth? One aid for the b'chor? Question. So Rav Ami asir. Rav Ami did not allow it. He said, no, you need two aidim. You need regular aidus, not aid mipi aid. Rav Asi shari. Rav Asi did allow it. Rav Asi is being more lenient, and he says for the edus of the b'chor to make sure that it wasn't done by a kohen. Sarvami is telling Rav Asi, why are you being so lenient? Oh, we just learned in the Brisa quoting in the yeshiva of Beit Menashe, it says, yeah, Ein ed mipied kosher ela de isha bilvad. Yeah, ed mipied is only kosher for an edus for a woman. The b'chor is not a woman; it's a behema. It's a firstborn. Only for an edus of an isha and a guna. Answers the Gemara. How would Rav Asi, the lenient one, understand? Ema, let us explain. Beit Menashe leedus shaisha kshera la bilvad. What do you mean just the edus regarding a woman? We're trying to say that a kind of edus that a woman can be a kosher aid or aidah, that level of edus, yeah, that edus, aid mipi aid can also be made. If the Torah lowered the standards, or Chazal lowered the standards of edus, and by the way, and that's true about a woman which is a guna. Let's say a woman doesn't know what happened to her husband who went to Gaza, or lahavdil, a trip to Thailand, I don't know where, yeah, lahavdil, yeah. There are Kedoshim, the ones in Gaza. So what happens then? And a woman testifies, wow, even a woman is kosher to be made that her husband died, and therefore, Prince Abela, the almana, can actually be an almana and can remarry. not every woman, some women yes, some not, whatever, but most women are. Oh, so very good. And if so, same thing over here. Since a woman is also kosher enough to be made on the Bechor, that the mum in the Bechor was not made by a Kohen, but it's a natural thing. A woman can say, I'm a woman and I'm intelligent, I'm good, and I saw that that animal was grazed, there's a gash by the animal that happened by itself, not from the Kohen, not through the Kohen. She's kosher. It's kosher for women, also kosher 8 mipi 8, because the whole standard is low. Now, continues the Gemara on the same subject. Rav Yemar achshar 8 mipi 8 lebchor. Rav Yemar followed that psak l'karvasi, and he said he allowed practically, yeah, they spoke theoretically. Rav Yemar practically said 8 mipi 8 is good to testify by the bchor that his mum is natural, not man-made. Kari alei mareimar, declared, and he said, Yemal Shari Bucha. In other words, he gave him a bit of a techocha. Yeah, he reprimanded him a bit. He said he is called Yemal, the one who allows the bchoros. Yeah, in other words, didn't like it so much. He is the mako one. Yeah. However, the winner is the hilchasa eid mipi eid kosher lebchor. Halacha is like Remar, is like Rav Asi, that eid mipi eid is kosher for Bechor. Okay? Don't leave us alone. You're disappointed. We're not talking about Bishul and Shabbos. It's coming soon. More about Schita, and then today's topic is about cooking on the seventh day. Not recommended. Don't cook on Shabbos. It's not accepted in the Haredi circles. Your kids won't get shidduchim. Joking. That's the reason. What?
Unless you use a sun.
Unless you use the sun, you get the trick, right? Very good. Remember, Chalus dvash. Ki also of oisha min ardo. So what did we say about chalus dvash? In the Mishnah, yeah, we spoke about. Remember, we said about zaysim, about fruit that you have fruit in your house on Shabbos, and the juice begins to leak out. What's halacha? Zaysim v'anovim, you're not for sure. L'kul alma, you cannot benefit from the juice, right? That comes out, that oozes out of the zaysim v'anovim naturally. You didn't do anything; it came out by itself. Because if you enjoy the juice of the zaysim v'anovim, you may come to squeeze them yourself, right? Because usually they are meant for juice, as we said. Other fruit, we pass on the Karbiuda, this is good chazorah. Let's say you have most other fruits in the world are mostly for eating and less so for squeezing. So then what's halacha? Like Karbiuda, meaning if you brought them home in order to eat them, as today is mostly the case, you brought the bananas, the dates, the mango, the papaya, the whatever, yeah. You brought the tutim, the rimonim. You brought them home in order to eat them solid. So even if the juice starts flowing out, you're allowed to drink the juice. Because your idea is not to squeeze them. Your idea is to eat them, and you'll eat them. If you brought them home in order to make juice out of them, your wife just told you on Friday, I'm starting yet another new diet, juicing. And she's buying all these new fruit for juicing. And it's now Shabbos, and the nice juice starts leaking out. Hey, don't drink from that juice. Why? Because since you brought it to be squeezed, you may come to be tempted to squeeze it on Shabbos. Now, chalus dvash, the case of chalus dvash is the case in which you have a challah, not challah, imagine, not the challah eaten Shabbos. Chalus dvash are the honeycomb. Let's say you have honeycomb, and the honeycomb already started crushing the dvash before. There's a few stages on how you get the honey out of the honeycomb, apparently. You did the first crushing already, yeah? So it's halfway there. And now the dvash started oozing out, the actual honey. However, there is still what to do. In other words, besides the first crushing, there's another stage of squeezing even more, even harder. And we are, according to Blazer in the Mishnah, he says we're not concerned that if honey comes out of a half-crushed honeycomb, yeah, it's been through the first crush, not the second one, yeah. At that stage, says Rabbi Lezer, no worry. Well, Chachamim say you should be worried, yeah. Let's see it in the Brisa. When Rav Osher came from Nardo, also the Aisim Esnisa Biyodi. He came from Nardo, from the yeshiva. After studying in yeshiva, he came with a Mishnah. To be more exact, it's a brisa in his hands. He came to Besmedrash with a new brisa. What's that brisa? Zeisim v'anovim sheriskan me'erev Shabbos. Zeisim v'anovim that you crushed, not completely, the first crushing, the first stage from Friday. Now it's Shabbos. V'yotzu me'atzman. Get Shabbos. Shabbos lunch. You see, oh wow, the honey begins to flow by itself. Matzman. I'm not doing anything from the sort of half-crushed honeycomb. Asurin. The Nekama says it's also just like Veisimanovim, just like any other fruit that's meant for squeezing. It's also, however, Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shimon matirin. Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shimon allow, as we explained before. Why does Rabbi Lezer allow? He said, since it's already, you crushed it before, the only second thing you have to do is squeezing. That much we're not concerned. Since you did the first crushing, we're not concerned you'll come to now do the second one. You already started it. You'll be already regua that it's going to happen by itself. You're not going to be so nervous to do the extra thing. However, Amar of Yosef is now asking, Gabri Yeser also Lashmina? You came from yeshiva. You're telling us you have a whole new memora to tell us, a new brisa. Gabri Yeser, you came. The only thing that I'm hearing from you that's new is the fact that not just Rabbi Lezer allows it, but also Rabbi Shimon, right? No, I'm sorry. Oh, no. I made a terrible mistake. Oy vavoy, I made a terrible mistake. I'm sorry. They didn't speak here about honey. Sorry. Boom, 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 boom. Zeisim vanovim. I mean, you just follow the text. Yeah? Inside the Gemara, what did we learn? What I said, by the way, is true. In the Mishnah. In the Mishnah, we spoke about honey. And it's true what I said. However, in this brisa, we speak about Zeisim vanovim. And they're saying the same thing about Zeisim vanovim. That Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shimon not only allow you to do it by honey, even by Zeisim vanovim, that you start with the first crushing, and then it happens by itself. Yeah, we're not concerned, you'll continue. Yeah, then at that stage it's already safe and it's okay and you can enjoy the juice, according to Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shimon. However, Rabbi Yosef is asking a question. What's the big news that Rav Hoshe is telling me? What's he coming to tell me? Gavra Yisera? All he's telling me is that instead of just Rabbi Lezer has another Tana to support him called Rabbi Shimon. That's the only new piece of news I'm hearing here. I knew already about honey. Honey, Zeisem Anovim, it's all the same at the end of the day. And yet what? All you're telling me here, Rabbi Lezer has another Tana to support him. It's not a new brisa. It's more or less everything else we knew before. You're just bringing another opinion. Yeah, imagine yourself, you're listening to All Shir and Halacha, right? And then he says, I have a whole big news to tell. What's the big news? And that Rav so-and-so also believes in it. That's all new Shir. Just giving me one more opinion. Yeah, what's the big news? Omar Abaye. Abaye's Rav Yosef's Talmud, which is Abaye, is answering back to the Rav, to Rav Yosef, and he says, Tshuva Kamash Malan, it's not true. We're learning a lot from this new brisa. There's a whole new piece of information here, not just the new name, which is Rab Shimon. Din Mimas Nisin, had we only learned the Mishnah, Hava Amina, I would have thought, Hosamu Dimikor Oichlo, Ulvasof Oichlo. Oh, very good. By the case of the honey, it's the same honey before and after. The honey that's in the honeycomb and the honey that's outside the honeycomb, halachically, beforehand it's called food, and afterwards it's called food. It's true that honey is called one of the Shiva Mashkim, so that you can ask it as a question. But the honey doesn't really change its form from before and after. And therefore, I would have said, there were mekel, because the whole schita, the whole isser of schita is not as severe when you soichet, when you squeeze from the honeycomb. Yeah, one could argue it's like squeezing the milk or the chocolate drink from the plastic bag. It's not really very different. So maybe over there, Rabbi Lezer had a reason to be mekel, right? We're not concerned, and anyways, not really. The schita is not a real serious schita, not the raisa for sure, not as bad. Aval hocho, when it comes to zeisim va'anovim, the mikor oichlo basof mashke emaloi. Here, when you have zeisim va'anovim that are clearly defined as foods, these are called solid foods. And afterwards, what do you have? Mashke. You change the form. It was solid. Now the liquid, it's all of a sudden liquid. It's a complete different form, different story. And it's a choshev mashke, yain v'shemen. Yeah, emaloi. Maybe in such a case, maybe there, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shimon would be more hesitant. Maybe there wouldn't be mekel, because even though it's true that it started the crushing process, and I'm already kind of not so nervous, and I'll just let it flow, as they say in Hebrew, lizrom, to go with the flow, and I won't do it. It's a nice svara, but would you apply the svara to real schita zesiva novim? Maybe not. Kamash malan. That was the chiddush that Rabbi Yoshua told us, that kula of something that started being crushed before, and now it's already on its way. Anyway, it's naturally flowing, and I don't have to squeeze it again to be such a nervous. Give it not a squeeze. That's a nice svara, maybe only by dvash. Maybe it's not a svara by zesiva novim. Comes Rabbi Yoshua and says, no, you should know. I heard a brisa that even by zesiva novim, the same svara applies. Although zesiva novim are way more severe than dvash, as we know. Yeah? Now it's cooking time. Boom. This Mishnah is one of the most important Mishnahs regarding Bishul in Shabbos. This Mishnah is something that applies to a Jewish kitchen almost every Shabbos. Zuk the heilige Mishnah. Kol Shabbat B'chamin. I'll tell already now. The topic is what? The very, very vast topic of Ein Bishul Achar Bishul. If something was cooked before Shabbos, then bishul does not apply to it on Shabbos. And I wish it was that simple. There are about many, many details. Says the Mishnah, Kol sheba bechamin me'erev Shabbos, any food item, food stuff, that, listen carefully to the Lashon, that has been through hot water on Friday, shoyren oysa bechamin b'Shabbos, you're allowed to soak it in hot water in Shabbos. Says Rashi, kloimer shenis bashel. Rashi says kloimar. When Rashi says kloimar, it means there's a red herring here. You know that, yeah? Kloimar by Rashi means he's coming to outsmart some other understanding. That kloimar is always, Rashi is coming to say something more in depth to tell you that the Gemara is not like the Poshup Pshat. Yeah? So kol shabbat b'chamin me'erev Shabbos, meaning that it's cooked. It was cooked before Shabbos. You're allowed to cook it on Shabbos. Yeah? I'll soon say more of a. I'll expand more soon. Because Shalom Ba'Bechan Me'erev Shabbos. No. Actually, no. I want to say it now. No. I want to actually stand here now, like shtel, as they say in yeshivas, and try and understand what's going on. If it was so simple, like Rashi is telling us that it's bishul, so why can't the Mishnah speak normal? Let's say kosher is bashul Erev Shabbos, right? Anything that was cooked on Erev Shabbos, you can cook it on Shabbos again, put it back in the pot on Shabbos. What does it say Ba'Bechamin? Kloiman is bashel, right? So there are a few things here. First of all, according to many Rishonim, the idea is Kol Shabbat B'chamin means that it was cooked in Kli Rishon, meaning it wasn't cooked on the fire. You took a soup bowl, yeah, very, very hot, Yad Soledes, strong Yad Soledes, took it off the fire and it's now on your kitchen counter on the shaish, and now you put some stuff in there. Is that stuff called mevushal? Yes. When you mevashel and clearation of the fire on Shabbos, it's an Isser Doraisa Isser Chatas Isser Kores. Yeah, if you cook something in clearation of the fire, stays for a very long time. We have soup Leil Shabbos. I touch it sometimes literally half an hour after my wife serves it, and it's still hot on the outside of the pot. Yeah, it's hot for a long time, very hot. So now in the bottom, yeah. So now Kol Shabbat B'chamin, that's a chiddush. Even if the item was only clearation of the fire, that business of clearation of the fire is not only a chumrah, it's also a kula. That's weird. You understand what's going on here? Not only you're not allowed to put something in clearation of the fire on Shabbos and it's osir, even if it was on clearation of the fire on Friday, it's called cooked lekula. It's called cooked now, lekula, that now on Shabbos, I'm allowed to recook it again. That's a chiddush. However, other Rishonim learn differently. Other Rishonim learn that it wasn't fully cooked. And here comes a huge machlokes Rishonim with a big bir halacha and the big businesses, Shin Yudches, Siman Shin Yudches, If Daled, you're welcome to learn it. Very interesting. The big question is as follows. Some people say Bab B'chamin actually doesn't mean it's special. It means that it was just above Bender Soy. Everyone knows Bender Soy. How much is Bender Soy? Half cooked. Half cooked. Ooh, whoa. And the winner is Jason. Whoa. In other words, yeah, Ben Soy means something that is partially cooked. According to Rashi, a third cook. According to Rambam, half cooked. And what happens when you cook something out to Ben Soy? It's called cooked. Chav chatzes, the mezid is chorus. Question is, let's say something was cooked Ben Soy from Friday, yeah? Just got to that stage. And now you're cooking it, you're continuing the process from, let's say, half to full. Here's a huge machlokes rishonim, big machlokes rishonim, and some rishonim say, look, ba b'chamin that's been cooked, like unlike Rashi. Ba b'chamin means it's been through hot water. It didn't finish the course. It didn't do the PhD, just the MA. Yeah, it's only halfway through. Yeah, so therefore, and still you're allowed to cook it. You continue cooking it further. Yeah, you're allowed because it's cooked already. Many other Rishonim say no. Many other Rishonim say not true, like Rashi and Tosfos and Daf Lametes. It says no. Even though it's called cooked once it's been dorsai, but if you cook it further for normal cooking, most of us are not robbers and we don't eat half-cooked food, right? And therefore, if you mesayeh, you're helping to cook it further, you're chayiv. Paskins, Maran Shulchan Aruch, and the Ashkenazim follow too, Mishnah Berurah, that l'chumrah. If something is only halfway cooked, yeah, half, third, whatever, very nice, then you're not allowed to cook it again. However, because some Rishonim learn otherwise, b'di'evid, if someone did it, b'shoigeg, maybe also b'mezid, that's another shayla, you're allowed to benefit from it. Yeah, you're allowed to have a no right away. Okay? But the if it was cooked or by a goy, shaylas, I'm not sure who, but that's another shayla. But if he was cooked, but the evid you can enjoy, you can benehene, lechatchila, don't do it. Okay? That's one point. Okay? And so the two chidushim, either the chidush is something cooked off the fire and clear rishon is then ein bishulach or bishul, or something that was ben dosai, according to those rishonim, you're allowed to cook it further. But now we understand what Mishnah says, kol sheba bechamin, as opposed to kol shenis bashel. One line in the Mishnah has a whole, world around it. Continues the Mishnah, v'kol shelo ba bechamin me'erev Shabbos, anything that was not ba bechamin, meaning it's less than ben dosai, it was cooked, but loy ba bechamin, or nothing, or almost medichin. Let's say it wasn't cooked at all. Something wasn't cooked. What are you allowed to do? Medichin ose bechamin b'Shabbos. You're allowed to rinse it, have it stand there under a hot flow of hot water, rinse it with hot, steaming hot water. That you're allowed to do. Yeah, medichin bechamin b'Shabbos. Interesting. Why? We assume that just getting it from just that stream of hot water is not going to cook it. So we think, except for salty fish that's been in the salt yoshan, it's been aged in the salt for a long time. So now it's very, very susceptible to cooking. Or the kulis hispanin. Kulis hispanin is a very delicate fish from Spain, hispanin, that cooks very easily. It's called in halacha kale ha bishul. They cook very easily. Which means something that easily cooks, it's very susceptible to be cooked, such as tea leaves. Yeah, says the Rambam, tea leaves or anything, I don't remember, something very thin. Those things are more delicate and more susceptible to cooking. Those things you're not allowed to do irui on those things. Here again, all hell breaks loose because the Rishonim ask what's going on here. Are you telling me that from a kli Rishon you're allowed to do irui on a potato, on meat? According to some opinions, it's not true. Why? Because bishul, even Machlokes Rav Shmuel, Totogov, Arilogov, in Psochim, Hol Shaina, Maisa, we say irui mevashel kedei klipa for Shabbos, for kashrus. So even if the thing doesn't go, it's true that a whole big bulky potato or meat is not going to properly cook. But if you have kli rishon off the fire, imagine your kettle, they're very hot. It is mevashel the outer layer. So how come that's okay? So Tosfos' second answer in Daf Lametes is here's a chumrah kli sheni, and therefore he says no kli sheni from kli sheni, irui from kli sheni is not mevashel, not even kedei klipa, but irui from kli sheni is mevashel. What? Those items are kala bishul. Hence, if you have something that's kala bishul, you can't cook it even for your kli sheni. Yeah, I'm not asking ochel ma'isa. Definitely such an opinion. That seems to be the opinion of Tosfos and many others. And at this happy note, we should say goodbye for tonight. And we'll be here tomorrow, same time, same place. Be'ezras Hashem. And sorry, I started too late today. Yeah, but so we have a shorter shir. But tomorrow we're going to talk more about Bishul. Okay, very interesting stuff. And thank you so much for coming here. And Mazel Tov to the twins for their bar mitzvah. That's why I came late. It was the bar mitzvah. Hatzlacha v'rocha. Thank you, and may we be zoiche to keep Shabbos Kil Chosom. That's cool.